Hey guys, this is Supriya and I'm back again with another video on Selenium WebDriver series. And today we will be learning about fetching the data from the Excel file and using it inside our Selenium scripts. Okay, so there are scenarios wherein you need to use the set of data in Selenium multiple times or the same set of data multiple times. So you need to, if you don't automate it, okay, you will have to change the scripts at many places on Selenium, because if your data is changed you need to change the scripts at many places. All right. However, if you maintain that set of data in the Excel file or any other file, you don't have to make a change on Selenium scripts. You just make a change on Excel sheet or your Excel file. Just make one change and that is it. And if you have written a script wherein you are fetching the data from the Excel file, you can use it at multiple places on Selenium at multiple times. Okay, so now Selenium does not provide such classes or libraries or methods to interact with other files or say a notepad or PDF or Excel sheet. However, we make the use of third-party tool which is Apache POI that provides us the jar files or the set of libraries or classes or methods to interact with other files. So first we will download the third-party tool Apache POI, and you just need to go to Google. I'll just let you know how to download and install. Okay, so you just need to type Apache POI download in Google, and on the first link just click on the first link and just scroll down to this binary distribution section and just download this zip file. Okay, can you see that this second link, this is the zip file that you need to download. Once you download, just extract this file on a folder, and I'll just show you where have I extracted. C drive. Okay, this is my Apache POI folder that I have extracted. You need to go inside. There is another folder, and these are the set of jar files that Apache POI has provided. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to add these jar files to your project. Okay, only then you will be able to use them, right? So you need to add these libraries to your project. So I'll just let you know how to add these libraries. You need to right click on your project. So do not get confused. This is the package Selenium class and this is the project Selenium sessions. So you need to just right click on the project. Okay, so I'll just do a right click, go to properties and go to Java build path, and here under libraries section you will click on add external jars, because these are external jar files. Okay, so you'll click on this, and then you need to go to that Apache POI folder, okay, to add them. So I'll just go to that folder, and this is my folder. Okay, so first you need to select all these jar files and do open, so it will be added. Okay, here, because I have already added, so I'll not do this again, but I'm just guiding you how to do that. And then after you're done with these set of jar files, you go to this folder which is OOXML library, and then you need to just select these jar files and say open. So it will be added, and then again go back and go to libraries folder and select these set of jar files again and do the same thing. Okay, so this is how you add your jar files provided by Apache POI to your project in Selenium. Okay, and do apply and close, and this window will be closed. So then you will be all set to use the libraries, the classes and methods that Apache POI has provided, and then you will be able to interact with other files like Notepad or PDF or Excel sheet. Okay, this time we are using the file as an Excel sheet. Okay, so let me just open my file, Excel file, where I have maintained the set of records. Okay, so this is my folder, this is my Excel file. Okay, and this is that is reg underscore data. So here I have maintained my data. So I have just three rows or three records, okay, wherein I have maintained the email ID and the password. Okay, three email ID and three passwords. Okay, and what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to use these three email ID and passwords and fetch it, and using the Selenium scripts I need to automate it over this website. Okay, this is my website, which is dataclick.com. So when I automate this, what will happen is one by one the data from my Excel file that contains the email ID and password will be fetched and entered in these fields, and it will be verified whether these email ID and passwords are fine or not. Okay, because sometimes you need to check with the set of valid and invalid data whether they are okay or not, and you need to just write your test cases accordingly. So I have showed you the data. This is a small set of data. You can have a big data, or more big, because we have large set of data. This is like this has only three set of rows. Okay, four set of rows, but you can have like 1,000 or even lakhs. Okay, and then in that number of set of data when you have to use, then you just make the use of Excel file. Okay, and let's start then writing the code. So in this project, which is Selenium class, I'll just do a right click and I'll just create one class. I'll say data driven demo. Okay, so I have created the class data driven demo. I'll just select public static void main method and I'll say finish. Okay, now from my previous videos I'll just copy paste the launching of browser script, then page load timeout script, and the getting the URL script, that is opening the website script. Okay, so if you haven't watched those videos, please go back and watch those videos to understand them better. So I'll just paste it here. Okay, so this is my class data driven demo, and I have I'm going to launch my browser. I'm going to do a page load timeout, maximize my window, and let me just copy the URL that I'll be using. So this is my login page of the website dataclick.com. Okay, so I'll just copy it and paste it here. Okay, Okay, this is already there, so I'm just telling you that you need to open this website first. So driver.get URL will do this task. Okay, it will open the website. Okay, so we are all set till here. Now let me tell you this, that every file, now this is the file, this is the Excel file. Okay, there can be other files as well, like notepad, like PDF, uh, but here we are using the Excel file, and this file has the workbook. So this is one workbook with the name reg underscore data dot xls as an extension. Okay, so if you just open a new file, this is another workbook. So this is the Excel file, both are the Excel files, but this is the workbook, which is now named as book 1. Okay, so this is the workbook. Okay, and inside the workbook we have the sheets. So this is sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. All right, now inside the sheet, say sheet 1, we have the number of rows. So these are the number of rows. Okay, and we have the number of columns. So these are the number of columns. Okay, so you can see I have 4 number of rows here and 2 columns, email and password, and that my data is inside the cells. Okay, so this is my data, this is my cell. Okay, so this is how you you know, we have different options in the file or a workbook. Now to interact with all these like workbook or sheets or cells or columns or rows, there are methods and classes provided by Apache POI. So to interact with the workbook, okay, so let us first open the Excel file. Let us first write a script to open the Excel file. So what Selenium wants is, Selenium wants us to tell us where this file is located that you want to use, you want to fetch the data from. Okay, so for that there is a class inside java.io package, and that class name is file input stream. Okay, so I'm going to create the object of this class, which is file input stream. So this is my reference variable file, which is pointing to the object of this class. Okay, so I'm just writing the code. Okay, now here first you need to import this class, which is file input stream, from java.io package. Okay, now it's asking for the, sorry guys, it's asking for the argument. Okay, so what argument you will pass in this object of file input stream is the path of this Excel files. Okay, so how to get the path? You will just go to that particular folder where you have kept that file, and you will just copy till here. Okay, and then you will paste it here. So let me just copy it and paste it quickly. Okay, so I have copied and pasted the path of my Excel sheet. Okay, but when you will copy the path of your file, it will copy till, okay, let me just tell you, it will copy till here, which is registration data. This is my last path, but you need to manually write this the name of the file, which is at this time reg underscore data dot xlx. So here it will be copied till here, but you have to write this over at the last, reg underscore data dot xlx. Okay, if you don't write, then it will show you the error. Okay, so this is how you need to mention the path of the file, and it will then ask you to handle the exception. So it is showing the checked exception, so you need to just click on add throws exception. Okay, so it will handle the exception, which is the checked exception. Now there is a class in that Apache POI has provided, which will help you to interact with the workbook in the file. So far we told the Selenium that this is my file, okay, where this is the path of my file, and you need to read the file. So in file input stream class, it will read the file. If you want to write the data on the file, so there is another class which is file output stream, but here we are reading the file. So the class that we are using to read the file is file input stream. Okay, file output stream will be used to write the data. Okay, and you are providing the path of the file. Now you need to tell the Selenium what workbook I'm going to use. Okay, so for that there is a class in Selenium, that Apache POI has provided, which is XSSF workbook. Okay, so I'll just create the object of this class, and I'll say workbook as the reference variable to the object of this class. Okay, now you will have to import this from Apache POI user model package. Okay, so this is now imported. Okay, and now you have to pass the instance of this file input stream class to this XSF workbook object. Okay, why you are doing this? Because you want to tell Selenium which workbook of which file you need to interact with. Okay, so again you need to handle the exception here. So you will just do add throws exception, and it will be handled. Now using the instance of this XSF workbook object, you will access the method. Okay, just a moment guys. Which method you will access? Now you told Selenium that this is my file, the path you have given, and this is my workbook. Okay, but now you will have to tell Selenium which sheet you are going to use. Okay, because there are several sheets, so we will tell Selenium that my data is at sheet 1. Okay, so for that we need to use a method. Now which is that method? Okay, so that method is, you will say workbook, which is the reference variable of XSF workbook class, and you will say dot get sheet. Okay, you can also use get sheet at, but that if you use get sheet at, you will have to provide the index value of that sheet. So here if you see, the index value of this sheet 1 is 0. So sheet 1 is 0, sheet 2 is 1, sheet 3 is 2. Okay, and if you don't use this index value method, which is get sheet at method, you have another method which is dot get sheet. Okay, so if you use this method, which is get sheet method, then you can write the sheet name. Okay, so my sheet name is sheet 1. Okay, so you can use both of the methods. But if you use get sheet at method, you have to provide the index value, that is 0, 1 or 2, depending upon which sheet you have placed your data at. Okay, now since this is returning me the XSF sheet class, okay, object of XSF sheet, we have to store it inside the XSF sheet object reference variable. Okay, so XSF sheet, I'll just say sheet, this is the object of my XSF sheet reference variable. This is the reference variable of my XSF sheet object. Okay, and we need to import this class as well from Apache POI. So I'll just import this quickly. Okay, so now I'll just tell you again. What I have done is I have using the file input stream class, I just asked Selenium to read the file. Now which file I need to read, I have given the path to that file here in the object of file input stream class, and I have created the object of XSF workbook class because I need to tell Selenium which workbook of which file I need to use. So I'll just create the object of XSF workbook class, and inside this object I'll pass this instance variable, that is for the file input stream class. Okay, and using this reference variable or object of XSF workbook class, I'm accessing the method which is getSheet method, and I'm mentioning which sheet my data is located at. So I'm passing the sheet name value here inside the as an argument to getSheet method. Okay, and since this method is returning me XSF sheet reference variable, I'm maintaining or storing the value here inside the XSF sheet object. Okay, now you need to tell Selenium how many rows are there inside this sheet, or how many rows are there that contains my data. Okay, so I just have 4 records here, 4 rows or 4 records here. So how will I tell Selenium that I have total number of rows as 4, where I have my data inside this sheet 1? So how will you tell that? There is a method which is get last row num. So now you will use this XSF sheet reference variable, which is sheet, to access that method, because this row is inside the sheet. So you will use the sheet object to access that method. Okay, so you'll say sheet dot get last row num. So it will give you the number of rows, the last count of the row where you have saved the data. Okay, so what will be the last count of the row? 4 here. Okay, because my data is saved till 4th row. Okay, so this, as the name itself is telling, get last row num. So it will fetch you the last number of row here. Okay, so again you will maintain the value which this will be returning inside the variable. So since this is returning the int type of value, you will save it inside the int reference variable. So I'll say int, say row count. Okay, so the value that this get last row num will return will be saved inside this row count. So what will be the value? It will be 4. Okay, now what I need to do is I need to fetch these values, that is the list of email IDs and passwords, one by one. So I'll just run a for loop. Okay, so let me just run a for loop. Inside the for loop, what I'll do is, okay, so I'll just create the for loop here. I'll start my value from 1. So I'll initialize int I equals to 1. Okay, why 1? Because I want to run the loop from this row, the second row, because my data starts from second row, and here the index value of this row, which is my first row, though it is showing 1, it is 0. For Selenium, for at the back end, it is 0. Okay, the first row has the index value as 0, but the second row is 1, and then 2, then 3. So my data is stored in the first row or from the first row. Okay, so if this is 0, this is 1, and that is why I have initialized my for loop and given the value for I as 1. Okay, now till where you have to run the loop? You have to run the loop till here. So it should be, I've already taken, or I already got the count of the last row, okay, which is stored here in this reference variable. So I'll say, please run the loop till my last row. So you will say row count. Okay, and you will say I plus plus. Okay, so this will increment my I value or row value. Alright, and then you will just start your for loop. Now I have to fetch the data from the cell belonging to these rows that I have mentioned in the for loop. Okay, so how to do that? So here for that, what you will do is, there is another method which is get row method. Okay, so you will again use the sheet reference variable, okay, which is this, which is the object of XSF sheet. Okay, you will use that, and you will say dot, and you will say get row. Okay, you will say get row, and here you will pass I. Sorry guys. Okay, and you will save the value that this will be returning inside. Okay, let me just check. This will be returning us the XSF row class object. Okay, so you will just write this XSF row, and you will say current row. This is my reference variable, and again you will have to import this class, which is XSF row class. Okay, so now the error has gone. So what will happen is, so now see here carefully, when the value will be 1 here, 1 will be passed here inside this method, which is get row. So the focus will be only at this row, first row. Okay, and then from that row, so the value will be returned. That value will be saved inside the current row. That means you are telling the Selenium that this is my current row. My current row is which row? My first row. Okay, so and that is why we made the use of get row method. Okay, so at this time when the for loop will run, the value of I will be 1. So that value will be passed here in place of I, and this method get row will be getting the current row. Okay, that will be saved here, okay, inside the current row, and the focus will be completely on current row, which is the first row. Okay, and you will tell the Selenium that now I have to fetch the data from each cell. So how many columns are here? There are 2 columns. So can you please fetch the data from these 2 columns? You'll ask Selenium. For that, you will write a code like this. Current row dot. Now see the trick here. You will say get cell. Okay, you'll say get cell. So this is my method get cell, and which cell you need to pick up? Now see the trick. If you go to Excel sheet, this is my first row, and if you see the columns here, there are 2 columns. So this is my column 0 and this is my column 1. This is how at the backend Selenium understands. Okay, so this is my column 0 and this is my column 1. So I'll say 1 on the first row, pick up the value from 0th cell, and then pick up the value from first cell. Okay, this is my 0th cell and this is my first cell. So first I'll pick up the value from 0th cell. So on the first row, which is my current row, okay, that I have mentioned here, pick up the value from 0th cell. So you'll pass 0 as an argument here inside this get cell method. Now you are now with the help of this method get cell, you are at the 0th cell, but you are not fetching the data. You still have to fetch the data. For that, there is another method which is dot get string cell value. So this is returning us the string type variable. Okay, so I'll just write this code here. So you will say get string cell value, and what this will do, this will fetch the data from that 0th cell and save it inside the string variable. So you will say this is my email ID, so you will say email ID as the reference variable, and then similarly, now once the data from the 0th cell is fetched, you will now fetch the data from the first cell or first column of the first row. So again you will write the same code here. You will say current row dot get cell. Okay, now this time my cell value will be 1 dot, again you want Selenium to get the data from that cell, so you'll say get string cell value. Okay, and then since this is giving us back string type, so I'll save it inside the string type variable. Okay, so I'll say string, and this is my password field, so I'll say string password as the reference variable. So that cell value of the first cell, which is testing 1, 2, 3, will be saved inside this string reference variable, which is password. So now I have gotten the value of the first row. Okay, so this, when the for loop started, it started from the first row. So it got the row as the first row and saved it inside this current row variable. And from the current row, I told Selenium that be on this 0th cell. From the 0th cell, get that data, okay, and store it inside the email ID string type variable. Then I moved here and I told Selenium to get this to move to the first cell, okay, and then get the data from the first cell and save it inside this password reference variable. Now what I'll do, I'll locate the elements on the website, okay, because I need to pass those values that is being fetched to these fields. Okay, so let me just locate these elements. I just do a right click on email field and do inspect. Okay, so I have this class attribute, the value is here. So let me just create the XPath. Okay, so I've copied the class attribute value. Okay, and I'm going to create the XPath for this. So my tag name is input tag, so I'll just write / input, and I'll say square brackets, and my class value is @class equals. Okay, so this is giving us back 4 different values. So let me just check where exactly, at which index value is my XPath. Okay, so at the 3rd index value, my XPath is showing to be valid. Okay, can you see this? So I'll just enclose everything inside the round brackets, and at the end I'll mention the 3rd index value. So we have already learned how to create the customized XPath in my previous video. If you haven't watched my previous video on customized XPath, please go back and see that video, because that's very important part in Selenium. Okay, so this is my XPath for this email field. So I'll just copy this and I'll say driver dot find element by dot XPath. I'll paste the value of XPath here, and I need to input the value, the email ID value that is being saved here. So I'll say dot send keys. Okay, and I'll just pass this variable here. Okay, inside the send keys method. So what will happen here is the value that's been saved here from the 0th row, from the 0th cell of the first row, okay, the value that is being fetched and saved inside this email ID reference variable is being passed here. So which is my current row? This is my current row, which is first row. And which is my cell value? 0th cell is my value is saved in the 0th cell. So abc@testing.com will be saved first inside this reference variable, and then it will pass here. Okay, and let me just locate another field, which is my password field. Okay, before that, let me just save this value also. Okay, it's not needed. It will just locate it and pass that value. Okay, so to locate this password field, let me just spy this. Okay, so this is my class attribute value, so I'll just copy this from here and I have it inside the input tag. So I'll just remove this previous value and let this input tag remains here. I'll say square brackets @class equals, I'll paste my class attribute value here. So now this is returning me 4 different positions, okay, but where my password field position at which index value? So let me just check this. Okay, so can you see this? Okay, here. Okay, so can you see my password field got highlighted at the 4th index position. So my XPath is now defined for this password field. So I'll just put everything inside the round brackets, and at the end I'll mention the 4th index position. Okay, so I'll just copy this and I'll locate this element, driver dot find element by dot XPath. I'll paste my value here, and this time also I'll say send keys, because you need to pass that password value from here till here. Okay, so here you're passing your password value. Now I'll just put a thread dot sleep wait of say 3 seconds, so that you will be able to see each step. Okay, now let me tell you this. In the first loop, when this loop will run, my first value for I is 1, okay, which will be entered here, and it will get the row, the first row, because my value is first. So that will be understood as my current row, that the focus will be on the current row. So my focus will be here on the first row, and then it will get the cell, the 0th cell, because I have mentioned here 0th, get the value from the 0th cell. So this will get the value from the current row, from this 0th cell of the current row, and save it here. Similarly, it will then get the value from the first cell from the current row. It will save it in the password field, and then it will enter these email and password values to these fields. Okay, so it will be entered here in the email field and then in the password field, and then it will go, my value inside the loop of for I will be incremented by 1. Okay, so it will be 1 plus 1, which will be 2. Okay, so now here this time my value for I is 2, so it will be entered here. 2 will be my value. So this time my row is the second row. Okay, so it will come here and it will identify my second row. Now from this, the focus will be completely on the second row. So from the second row, it will get again the zeroth cell. Okay, it will go to the zeroth cell. It will fetch the value from the current row. Now this time my current row is which row? The second row. And it will save the first value to this email ID. Similarly, it will do for the password field, which is this value. Okay, and it will save here. Again, it will come here to this code, and it will then enter the email ID and password to these fields. Okay, from the second row. Now again, my row will be incremented by 1, so it will be 2 plus 1, which is 3. Okay, and it will check if it is lesser than or equal to my row count. My total row count is what? It is 4. Okay, so yes, it is less than it is 3 this time. So what it will do, it will fetch the values from here, from these two fields also, and it will paste it here, and it will again run the loop. The moment my condition becomes false, it will come out of the for loop and my task will be completed. Okay, so now I'm just adding a code, one more code here, and I'll just write that code first and then I'll explain you why I'm doing so. So let me just first write that code. So I'll just copy this element till here. Okay, I'll explain you why I'm writing this code, this extra code. Okay, just a moment, guys. Okay, so this is my locator for the email field, and this is for my password field. So I'll just write send keys, and inside this send keys method there is another class which is keys. Okay, so which is keys dot control. Okay, and then you put comma here, a comma and then you will again say keys dot delete. So this is what Control Alt Delete, and I'll tell you why I'm using this. Let me just close this all. Okay, so the same thing I'll copy and paste it here as well for this password field also. Okay, why I have done this? See, this is the method in Selenium, which is inside the keys class. There is a method chord. Inside this chord method, I have to pass the argument as the Control Alt Delete. So this will clear the fields. So each time when the for loop will be run, if you don't clear those values, or if you don't remove those values which are entered here, it will keep on adding, it will keep on appending the values. So if for the first time when the loop is run, it fetch the value for the email field as this, and if you don't remove this value, then it will fetch the second value when it will run the loop for the second time, and it will then append this with the first value, and so on and so forth. So you need to keep on removing the values that are being entered. So that is the reason I have used this method, which is Control Alt Delete. You can use another method also, which is dot clear method, but then sometimes that method doesn't work. So I have used, and this is for sure it's going to work. Okay, so it's there inside the send keys method. You have to just pass these parameters. Okay, that is keys dot card, keys dot control a, keys dot delete. Keys is a class, card is a method, send keys is a method, and inside the send keys method these parameters or values are passed. Okay, now what I'll do here is after the loop is run, my task is done, so I need to close the workbook. So when it will come out of the for loop, I'll just write here workbook, because the method for closing the workbook is inside the workbook class. So I'll just call the workbook instance variable. Okay, and then I'll say workbook.close, and this will close my workbook. It's better practice to close the workbook, because it will not occupy the memory unnecessarily. So always put workbook.close command. Okay, so let me just run this script and see if it is working properly or not. Okay, so let me just first align the code properly to look good. Okay, just a moment guys. It should look beautiful, right? So I'm just aligning my code. Okay, so we are all set now, and this is how my code is looking, which is good now. And now let us run the script and see if it is working properly. So I'll just do a right click, run as Java application. So it opened my browser, it opened my website. See, it entered the first value ABC at testing, then it entered the second DEF, and then the last row XYZ, and then my workbook got closed. Okay, so here I have just 3 records or 3 rows. You can have thousands or multiple, many rows here and many columns. So in the scenarios like wherein you have to fill up the application or any form, you have multiple fields, and you need to enter the values. You need to check the values, invalid and valid combination of data, whether it is working as expected or not. So that time, if it is in multiple number, then you just maintain it inside the Excel sheet, and it can be 1,000 records or 10,000 and many columns, and then that's how you run the script. So this is just the one, this is just the sheet 1. You can use sheet 2 also, but then you accordingly you have to make the changes here. So if it is sheet 2, you will have to write sheet 2 here inside the get sheet method. Okay, and then if the number of cells that are there, you have to accordingly enter the values, the index value here as well, and the row count will be accordingly automatically fetched from this method, which is get last row now. So guys, it depends on the way you write the code. If you write your code properly, your script will give no problem. All right, and also I want to tell you that we can achieve this task of fetching the data by using two-dimensional array, that we will understand in later sessions, when after we understand the framework in Selenium. That time we will understand how to fetch the data or data-driven testing using two-dimensional array. Okay, with this I end this video and see you in the next video. Till then, you have a great day and a great weekend ahead. Goodbye.